Lots of people do their best to refrain from pulling their hair for as long as they can. The problem is, they're struggling not to pull. They're white knuckling it all the time. It's exhausting. Aren't you curious as to why not pulling your hair would feel like such a struggle? I mean, on the face of it, not reaching up to pull hair out of your body certainly seems like something that should be effortless, wouldn't you say? And of course, you know as well as anybody that that's how a lot of people see it. Of course, mostly people who've never had to deal with this personally. Do you have a family member who still doesn't get it? Do you have friends or family that just can't understand how it could even be possible that you couldn't just stop pulling right now if you really wanted to? But now, see, here's the thing. Maybe the question isn't so much why they can't understand why you find it so difficult to stop pulling, but instead, maybe the question should be why you do find it so difficult. We need to talk about this. Why? Well, because if you really don't have any idea what's actually going on, like, why it's so hard to stay away from pulling, it's going to be a whole lot harder to rid yourself of this behavior than if you did. Does it make sense? All right, well, that's why I'm here today. Stay tuned, because we're going to get right into it. All right, so what have we been saying? We've been reflecting on how you somehow find it so difficult to make a lasting change that a lot of other people think should be easy. Heck, maybe even you think it should be easy and you can't understand why it's not. Well, here's a bit of insight for you. Let's think about this for a minute. On the one hand, you really do want to stop pulling, and you want to stop for good, right? And yet you don't stop. Instead, you just keep on doing it. Even more interestingly, when from time to time you just get sick and tired of it and you put your foot down and you just decide you're not going to do it anymore. Haven't you had times like that? Well, you might be able to refrain for a few hours or a few days or a week, but eventually what happens? You start to feel those feelings, right? You start to feel that tension. You might even feel like you're missing it, like you miss doing it. You miss the relief it gives you. You miss the comfort you feel when you're doing it. You miss the familiarity. Isn't that the truth? And part of you, of course, doesn't want to have to miss that, right? I mean, part of you, it's true, doesn't actually want to have to give that up, do you? Because there would almost be like a sense of loss if you really didn't have that behavior to fall back on during those times when you've come to depend on it, right? And therein lies the problem. Do you see the conflict that's been set up here? There's this conflict between the part of you that absolutely knows this hair pulling stuff is really bad for you and you really should stop. I mean, look what it's done to you so far, right? But there's also the part of you that would miss it if somehow you just really couldn't have access to it anymore. Does it sound familiar? Maybe it does and maybe it doesn't, but I'll tell you what, this conflict, which you may or may not even have been aware of until now, this is the number one reason you found it so difficult to stop pulling and to stay stopped. Part of you absolutely wants to stop, but part of you wants to keep on doing it. This conflict is the wall, it's the barrier that's been set up between you and your ability not only to create, but also to maintain freedom from hair pulling. And of course, if somehow, some way you were able to remove that barrier, you'd probably be shocked to find out just how much easier it is to just decide you want to stop and then to just do it. Wouldn't that be nice? And then the question, of course, becomes, well, how do you do that? Well, there are more subtle, sort of gentler, more satisfying ways to do it, but usually those require a bit of time and the services who might be able to guide you through the process one step at a time. But there's another way to accomplish this that I'm going to tell you about, and the good news is it's something you could do yourself. It's not necessarily the most pleasant approach, but it does work, and again, it's something you can do by yourself if you will do it. Okay, so we're going to start from the premise that all conflicts are the results of completely unconscious processes. Now again, there's many ways to resolve an unconscious conflict, and we're certainly not going to get into all of them here, but one really great way to do it is this. You need to associate pain to the behavior you really need to eliminate, ergo hair pulling, and pleasure to what you'll have instead when in fact you do eliminate the behavior. Now why are pain and pleasure involved? Well, because these are the two twin forces that drive all decision making, all learning, and all change. See, we come wired from the factory with a built-in desire to gain pleasure and an even stronger need, though, to avoid pain. So because pain and pleasure as behavioral motivators are so deeply ingrained into our psyche, it makes sense to leverage the almost unparalleled power Now, these two twin motivating forces to change our associations to, for example, hair pulling. Now you say, well, hold on, wait a minute. I already associate pain to this pulling problem, and I definitely associate pleasure to the idea of being free of it. You know what? I believe you. Yeah, big picture, that's why you call people like us, right? That's why you go around looking for videos like this. Because in your better moments, and I'm talking about times when you're not struggling not to pull, you of course absolutely associate more pleasure to being free of this, certainly, than to remain a slave to it. But the problem is what's happening in the moment. See, in the moment when you're tempted, when you have that choice, pull or do whatever it takes to not pull, in those moments the truth is you've associated more pleasure, or at least less pain, to allowing yourself to pull than doing whatever it might take to make sure you don't pull. So here's the trick. You got to turn the tables on this. You got to get to the point where you've genuinely associated more pain to allowing yourself to pull, even if part of you is tempted to do it, than you do pleasure. If somehow you're able to do that effectively, you'll find it easy to choose not to pull anymore. Now, normally, I'd love to be able to take you through a whole process on this, but unfortunately that would be just too much for a video like this. But I did promise you that I can share with you at least a way, that you could get the ball rolling on this for yourself. And that's going to start with the big picture. That is, you've got to invest the time and energy intentionally focused on the cost of continuing to allow yourself to pull versus just sort of, knowing that continuing to pull your hair is bad for you. You already know that, right? And it hasn't made a difference. Now, there's a best possible time to be doing this, and that is, you need to be focusing on this specifically in those moments when you're tempted to pull, not even the rest of the time. So here's an example of how you can do this. Take a few minutes and literally make a list of 5 or 10 of the worst, most painful, most embarrassing moments you've ever experienced as a result of this problem. And write down a word or two, sort of a visual label for each of these 5 to 10 experiences, that when you see each word, you'll know what that means right away and the experience it relates to. Have that list handy. And the next time you find yourself tempted to pull or feeling like you want to pull or there's that urge to pull, take out that list and go down that list one memory at a time and dump into it. Imagine yourself back in the midst of each of those situations, surrounded by it again, seeing what you were seeing, hearing what you were hearing, and most importantly, feeling the pain, feeling the embarrassment, feeling the humiliation of whatever was going on right there. Be sure to notice whatever it was in particular about that situation that was so painful. That part is key. And let those feelings remind you of the cost of continuing to allow yourself to pull, no matter how tempted you are. Right? Now you spend maybe 30 seconds associated back into each of those memories before you jump right away into the next one. Don't hesitate. Feel the pain of what happened in that memory. Dump into it. I know you don't want to, I know it's painful, but if you're willing to endure a bit of pain here, I think you'll find it that much easier to avoid pulling if that's something you really don't want to do, but found it hard to avoid in the past. That's how you handle even an unconscious conflict like this. That's how you break free from the lie your brain has been telling you that stopping pulling your hairs means you got to be giving something up. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please go ahead and smash that like button and please do subscribe to our channel. We'd love to be able to notify you when we have new content, more helpful videos coming your way. And you know what? Go ahead and hit that reply button below, leave us a comment, talk to us. How did this video impact you? If you're watching this video at our Facebook community page, please leave a comment there. We'd love to meet and chat with you. In fact, if you have questions about trichotillomania or hair pulling in general and you're just not quite sure where to go for answers, please visit our website at www.trick-free.com. You'll see a Contact Us link at the upper right of all of our web pages. We do actually look through all the questions that come into us very carefully, just like we do to all the comments and questions that show up here at our YouTube channel. And we do our best to answer as many of those questions in these very videos as possible. Again, please do be sure to like and subscribe. We're here to entertain, inform, and most importantly, to empower you to begin taking control of your hair pulling in ways you probably never thought possible before. If you'd like to reach out to us directly to get some information about how we can help you or a loved one, do feel free to visit our website at www.trick-free.com. If you'd like, you can write to us at relief@trick-free.com. And you can also call us at any time of day or night toll free at 833-TRICK-FREE. I love that rhyme. Thanks again for watching. I'm Robert Mantell with the Trichotillomania Relief Specialist. Here's wishing you an amazing trick-free week.